All right, everybody, welcome. Those who are just joining us, welcome. So glad to see everybody here at SequoiaCon. We're going to get started because it's 5:15. I want to get you out of here on time at 6:15 Eastern Standard. That's where I am. I'll give you a little bit of background information about me in a moment. What I'm going to do right now, I'm going to be sharing via the breakout room chat a link for a hyperdoc that will not only be used kind of as our running agenda for the session, but also has a ton of resources that you can explore during the session, some that I'm going to be referencing during the session, and others that honestly I've curated for you to use afterwards. So if you decide that you want to use any of the tools that we explore today or any of the instructional strategies or approaches, this is something you can go back to and hopefully find some useful resources to help you do that. So, and I will be letting kind of people in as well here as people are joining us. So once again, in the chat, I'll send it out again. I am sharing a link to a hyperdoc that has a running agenda for the session and also a variety of resources. I will be sharing it at times on the screen as well to reference certain resources too. So in fact, I'm going to do that right now. There you go. There I am again as a little Bitmoji version of myself. Same haircut, looks just as good digitally as it does in person. So I want to get going so that we can maximize our time together. I just want to introduce myself really quickly, and then I just want to talk about just some session norms, and then we'll just get right into it. My name is TJ Neville. I currently teach at Smith Little School in Glastonbury, Connecticut. I'm a history social sciences teacher. I've been doing this is my 20th year, and I have been teaching 7th grade world history the whole time. I'm also a team leader here as well. I'm also an Apple learning coach, an Apple teacher, a Google certified educator level 1 and level 2. You can see that there. That's an email. So after the session, if you want to reach out and have questions, or honestly, I love to hear back from session participants if you're trying something that we did in the session. You just want to share something cool. I'd love to hear from you. And that's also my username on, I would say Twitter, but we have to say X now on X. So that is an account where I'm only posting and reposting content related to instructional technology. So feel free to give me a follow if you want. I'd love to follow you back. Before we get into the objectives, just real quick on session norms. Obviously, if at any point you have a question, feel free to put it in the chat or interrupt. You can unmute and interrupt. That's fine. There's only about probably be about like 20 of us in here. Also, if you have to walk away from the session or leave the session even temporarily to go get a drink, use the restroom, go feed a dog, help a child out, I get it. There's a reason I stayed at school today till 5:15 Eastern Standards, because my 3 kids at home would definitely be popping on the Zoom to say hello to everybody. So I understand that if you need to walk away for a moment. And I also, obviously, as you're probably all aware, for some reason you have to leave the session early. There is going to be a recording of the session posted on SequoiaCon's website, as well as a link back to the hyperdoc that I shared out in the chat too. So don't feel like if you have to leave, you can still, watch, from where you left off on the recording. Once it's posted, and you can certainly access that hyperdoc as well, which I'm going to send out again in the message board, in the group chat. So the objective of the session, which you saw part of in the session description, is really to help you learn how to use AI features built into a variety of different platforms. I'm going to focus on 5, although there are many others. Magic School, Formative, Brisk, Diffit, and Quizzes, or as I call it, Quizzes. Lots of Z's there. And to learn how to leverage those tools to really support planning and improve teacher workflow. What I've discovered since, AI burst in the scene in the education world, especially since last November, is that AI can be used in a variety of different ways to enhance teaching and learning. But one of the ways it can really help is with teacher workflow and addressing teacher burnout. It certainly helped me. I like to say I had more hair before all this, and that's why I lost, because I was getting burnt out. But let's not kid ourselves. I haven't had hair for about 20 years. But regardless of that, it has helped me a lot and helped a lot of my fellow teachers that I teach with, and the ones that I've presented to throughout like I said, since about like last November or so. So really quick though, before we dive into that, I did want to just touch upon a couple things. One is what AI is at this point. We've all heard of it, and I like to always do some kind of meta things here. Let's ask AI what AI is. It's always fun to ask AI about itself, whatever large language learning model you want to play around with. So I asked ChatGPT what AI was, and I got quite a long definition. But the part I want to point out at the bottom is the last sentence here. You can see, and once again, you can access this Google Doc. I'll put the hyperlink back in the group chat. It says that the ultimate goal of AI is to develop machines that can emulate human-like cognitive abilities and decision-making processes. Emulate, not replace. And that kind of gets me into the next phase of things, which is kind of an approach to AI as an educator that I've kind of developed since last November. And I wanted to share a great follow, by the way, on X, Alice Keeler. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her. She's a wonderful educator, math educator, does some great stuff with instructional technology. I came across this last year, and she said that this is when ChatGPT was the primary focus of everyone's attention. Obviously, it still is important, but there's other tools out there. But she said that it can offer any AI, right? Any of these generative AIs can offer quick responses, but it can't match a teacher's understanding of individual students. AI supports, it doesn't replace. And I want you to think about that throughout the session, whether you're, just starting out with AI or even if you're an expert. It's never going to replace us. I mean, granted, I guess I'll be the first one to admit I'm wrong if that ends up happening, but I don't think it ever will truly replace a highly qualified teacher and highly skilled teacher, but it can support us and it can enhance teaching and it can enhance learning. So just some things to think about throughout the session, or actually any of the sessions, really, if you attend others at SequoiaCon, but it doesn't replace it. It supports, it enhances, right? Think augmentation, not automation, right? Think of it as another tool in your toolbox that can augment all the great things you're already doing and just make you better and more efficient and more effective at doing your job. That's the way you should view the tools that we're going to explore today. Another thing is you should think about like AI as a time-saving feature. Man, oh man, I don't even know how I did certain things before. I guess I can kind of remember, but like it has transformed a lot of the things that I do and have to do, and it saved me a ton of time. And hopefully you walk away with seeing some of the value in the tools that we look at today in that regard. Also, this is really important, and you learn this the hard way if you ever generate something with AI and then send it out and then regret it later without looking at it. Treat AI generated content as a starting point. It's a rough draft, right? So whatever you end up creating, you want to look at it, obviously, and use your expertise and your experience to vet it and make sure it is exactly what you want. Or honestly, you may not even want all of it. You may not like all of it. You may only like parts of it. So anything you generate with any of the tools that we are talking about, you really should think about it as a rough draft. If you go in with that mindset, it makes you avoid a lot of potential mistakes, but also will, more importantly, help you end up using it in a way that's going to be the most productive, the best thing for you, the best thing for your students. And kind of piggyback on that, use your professional judgment. I mean, in the end, right? In the end, these models that we're using, these AI models are very sophisticated, but they are, in the end, going to do what you tell it to do, right? So whatever the output is, you then have to use your professional judgment and your expertise to decide whether you want to use it or whether you want to change it or go back to the drawing board. And the last thing I'll say is this, because there are some tools that we'll explore today that do involve providing feedback to students. We do need to make sure when we are using any AI platform or any tool that leverages AI to protect student privacy and intellectual property. I always tell my students in advance if I'm going to be using AI to provide them with feedback so that they are aware that the feedback is going to be kind of a collaborative effort between myself and the AI platform, but also that it's going to be looking at their writing, right, and looking at their responses. And you have to remember too, if a student creates something and then you put it into AI without their permission, once again, one, it could be a violation of trust, right? That'd be bad. But also, we don't want to be putting intellectual property that someone else is into an AI model without permission. So just some things to consider. By the way, how I kind of sort of formulated this approach or came to it, I looked at a variety of different resources, and these are just 4 of them that I thought were really good and that really kind of shaped my thoughts on my approach. So, down the road, if you're curious and looking at any of these articles or posts, feel free to do that. I think it's important that we, have that we'd all approach it in a certain way that's very thoughtful and responsible and consistent. So I just want to get that out of the way before we really dive in. And like I said, I have put in the chat, I think everyone is in, but I'll throw it out again. The same Google Doc you're seeing on the screen can be accessed by clicking on the link in the group chat. So like I said, we're going to dive into 5 tools today, and I'm really going to try hard. And anyone who knows me knows that I have a tendency to talk too much. So I'm going to try to keep this to around 10 minutes a piece. So I'm going to give you kind of an overview. I'm going to kind of take you into some of the features. It certainly is not going to be a deep dive, but that's also why I provided you with these curated collections of links, so that if you want to take a deeper dive into it, you certainly could outside of the session. So the first one is Magic School. This is one that, man, the more and more I use it, the more impressed I am. And they're also expanding its capabilities on a pretty consistent basis, pretty frequently too. So what is it? It's basically, think of it as like, we all have a toolbox as educators, right? That we often go to try to, help our kids and get them and support them to learn. Think of this as an AI powered toolbox. A lot of the things that we do on a daily basis, Magic School has a tool that can help us do that, help us be more effective, more efficient, save us time. And the number of tasks that I can help you with are just expanding all the time. So I do have some links here. If you're not familiar with Magic School, or even if you've heard it and haven't created an account, I've got some getting started links to check that out. But I wanted to show you kind of what it can do. So I'm going to actually go to Magic School. And actually, I'll tell you this. Magic School was the very first AI platform specifically that I found that was designed for educators that I pinned right into Chrome. I keep that tab pinned, and I always have it out, just like I have my Google Drive pin tab or my email, because when I'm planning for instruction, or actually when I'm doing almost any part of my job, any given day, I'll often think, oh, hey, actually, can Magic School help me with that? And I'll just go right to that tab that's pinned up there and check it out. So it's definitely something to think about. But let me go here. So if you create an account, and by the way, it is a freemium model now. It was free, and now there are certain features that are free and certain things that are now a part of Magic School Plus. And you can see that I pay for Magic School Plus, but I would encourage you to try the free version out before you dive into that. Although I would argue that the paid version is worth it, but that's just for me. You'll notice here on the left-hand side, there is a sidebar menu with a variety of different options. I'm really going to focus on the first 3 Magic tools, Reina and their chatbot, and output history. Although very soon they're going to have a feature called Magic Student, which is going to be more student focused and less on helping teachers, accomplish daily tasks and get their stuff done and teacher workflow. And it's going to be more about helping students directly learn. Kind of similar to School AI, if you're familiar with that platform, is what I'm guessing, although they haven't revealed it to everybody yet. And then the main part of the screen that you're seeing in the middle here, and yes, my cursor is gigantic and green, and maybe it's because my eyes are starting to go a little bit at 42, but it's all, and more importantly, I have it that way because my desk in my classroom is really far away from my projector, and the kids have a hard time seeing my cursor when I'm pointing things out, but it helps here too. So right in the middle of the screen, you can see a variety of things. These are all the tools. At the top, you can certainly type in the search bar if you want to try to find a specific tool, or you can actually filter it. You can see these little buttons here that are kind of, hey, if you're looking for tools for planning, I can click on that, and it's going to obviously filter the ones that it thinks are good for planning. For content generation, creating questions, and then student support and some other ones as well. So, or you can just simply, look at them all or type in a search. One thing that I love too, something very simple, but we all love bookmarking things and liking things, and you just tap that star if you find a tool that you like and use often. These are ones I try not to like too many at one time, because I feel like then what's the point, right? It's like labeling all your emails as important, none of them become important. So the ones I've been using more recently it's letter of recommendation season. I don't know if anyone else is getting inundated with those, but so I have that one. I've been doing a lot of text summary stuff, and then I've been trying to find ways to make stuff more relevant for my students. So I've been using that one. So I kind of favorite the ones I'm using now, and then I'll unfavorite them as I'm not using them. just a little trick of the trade there. But if you want to use one, let's say lesson plan generator, for example, you just tap on it. And one of the nice things I like about Magic School before we try this one out is that, and this is not, I wouldn't say it's new, but it wasn't a feature that was a part of its original kind of iteration, is that, apologies for, I get spinny pinwheel here, is that they actually now give you an exemplar. So if you're kind of like, especially if you're new to generative AI and you're unsure about how to write a prompt or what to fill in the various fields, they give an exemplar and you can actually generate content from the exemplar, which actually I find to be very, very useful. So you can see here, lesson plan. It gives you all the fields, the criteria that you're going to want to put in, description criteria. So you just choose your grade level. Goes all the way down to pre-K, all the way up to post-high school. So, you know, I'm a 7th grade teacher. I choose 7th grade. You can either copy and paste text or just type. You can put a topic in, a learning standard, or an objective. You can also provide any additional criteria at all, any other information. So like any background knowledge your students already have, you know, like it says here, like the last lesson they had on, any other information about your students, obviously not private demographic information, but that would help the AI model, you know, generate a better lesson plan. And then you can also put in actual standard sets as well. So whether they're state standards or you know, national standards for your content area. So if I just do exemplar, just to show you this example, this one happens to be looks like they're going to do a science one about the periodic table. It'll allow me to generate a lesson plan based on that exemplar, and it's relatively quick too, although I am experiencing a little bit of lag here. Apologies on my end, but so it's pretty fast in terms of generating a lesson. So it filled it in here. It's going to be about how do food webs describe the ways in which animals and an ecosystem are related. So it's going to use the NGSS standards. It's got some additional criteria here, and so actually it's already generated here already for us. It's that fast. So it gives the lesson objective. It gives an assessment idea. Obviously, it gives key points lesson, a lesson opening, introduction to help them introduce them to new material, guided practice. You get the idea. Everything a good lesson plan should have is automatically generated for you very, very quickly. Now, once again, it's a starting point. It's a rough draft. You could use the entire thing as is after you obviously vet it, or you could just pick and choose. Maybe you really like the assessment, but you're going to go in a different direction in regards to the rest of the lesson. You know, maybe you really like the intro and closing activity, but you're not a huge fan of how they suggest introducing new material. The choice is yours. You can go up here and just hit copy, and you can copy and paste it into a Google Doc or put it anywhere in an email. Also, too, you can tap Save Resource, which will save it to your output. Think of output history as like basically like the history in a web browser, right? Keeps track of what you've been doing. So the prompts you enter in, and then also the output, so the generative AI output, or you can directly export it into Docs, Word, or even print it if you wanted to. So a lot of options in terms of how you want to share it. But here's the thing, you know, one of the things to think about whether you're new to AI or not is that AI and interacting with these large language learning models and generative AI, which is what Magic School is leveraging here, it's an iterative process, right? And you kind of have to think of it also like a conversation. So you can just stop right now, or what you can actually do is you can further refine what you've created as well. So actually, I'm going to just generate it here so you can see what I'm talking about. This is like a live generation of the content, but you'll notice at the bottom, there's a new little field that has an action button, and then there is actually a text field too that says send a message. So this is not just the end of the road, unless you want it to be. You can further refine the content you created, in this case a lesson, by actually asking it to do more. You could say, you know what, actually I want to drop it a grade level. So originally it was 6th grade, I believe. I want to drop it to 4th grade. Or you can actually say, you know what, I really want to make this lesson, I want to make sure it has a collaborative element in it. So you can actually type that in, and it will then modify the content that was generated already and incorporate obviously the feedback that you provided. So once again, you have to really think of it as more of an iterative process where, okay, you gave it a prompt, you gave it instructions, At that point, it generated content. You review it, you use your expertise, your experience to decide, hey, like what's good, what's not good, what I want, what I don't want. And then if you want to make changes, if you want to improve it or make it fit, for your students a little bit better, you can do that. And so you would just tell it what to do. Hey, you know what? I want to add a collaborative activity of groups of 4 to 5. With anything, with AI, good input equals good output. So the more specific you are, the more specific your request is, the more specific your prompt is, the more specific the instructions are, then the better the output's going to be. It's going to give you more of what you want. So let's say I do want, add a collaborative activity with groups of 4 to 5 students. So I'm giving it feedback, right? I'm just putting, some more information into the process. And now it's going to take that feedback and then generate a new lesson plan with a collaborative activity. So, and you can see it's pretty quick, even though I'm having a little bit of lag here with my connection issues with the internet. But so really, really fast. Also, too, it gives you suggestions as to, what you could ask it. And the action button here also allows you to translate it into a variety of different languages. I forget how many, it could be over 60 at this point. You can also change the length. You can also come up with questions based on it that would fit with the lesson. You could even summarize it. So if you wanted to provide a lesson summary to a colleague instead of giving them the whole thing, you could do that as well. So it's a pretty awesome tool. It works very quickly. And think about this. Even if you only use parts of this would take a lot longer for you to generate on your own. The way that I think about it in terms of my planning is it's almost like having an additional colleague to kind of bounce ideas off of. And it's a starting point, right? I might use all of it. I may use none of it. I may use some of it. But it's definitely going to save me time in the planning phase for sure. And lesson planning is just a very small part of what it can do. It can generate assessments. It can rewrite any text at all. Like it doesn't matter what it is. You can lower the level. You can change you can lower the lexile level. You can change the language, the target language. You can choose to like focus on emphasize certain vocabulary, change the tone. It creates informational text from scratch. It'll summarize YouTube videos. It'll generate YouTube video questions. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. It'll generate IEPs, IEP goals. It'll generate accommodation suggestions. So it can really help you in a wide variety of areas where a lot of these tasks take a ton of time. It'll even come up with jokes for you. This will save you time, guaranteed. So like I said, we could do an hour-long session on this alone and we wouldn't get to all the tools. But it's a pretty amazing, it's just an amazing way to save time and kind of enhance what you're already doing. Like I said, think augmentation, not automation. It's not going to automatically do everything for you, but it's going to augment your ability to the point where you're doing things a lot faster and a lot more effectively and a lot more efficiently. So some great stuff here. Like I said, if you're in letter of recommendation season like me, man, does it save time getting like a rough draft going for a student and then obviously modifying and personalizing it as well. There's a whole thing for just generating group work activities as well. So I'll mention one thing before we move on. I actually was giving a PD in-house 2 weeks ago, and I came across something from Ditch That Textbook. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the blog. Awesome blog, by the way. And they were talking about leveraging AI and trying to make things more relevant by using student survey data, which I thought was really great. And so if you give student surveys just to find out like what they're interested in, what they're into, and then leverage that data, you could use the Make It Relevant tool to actually make your lessons, make your activities more relevant to them by using the student survey data they're providing you with. So it's a really great way to get some ideas about how to make whatever your content is a lot more relevant to your students based on their specific interests. So you can see here, you can type in what you're teaching, once again, topics, standards, a whole paragraph, whatever, and then you just describe your students, right? And it will generate relevant lessons and activities based on that. It's really awesome. It's getting harder and harder to make things relevant for our students. And this is a great way to do that if you pair it with data from a student survey. So that's Magic School. Like I said, I just want to give you a quick overview of each one. You can certainly take a deeper dive on your own using the curated links that I provided on the HyperDoc. The Raina chatbot is very much like ChatGPT or Bard. and it's basically almost like, think of it like an AI instructional coach, or like an instructional coach that will kind of help you accomplish, a lot of your goals as a teacher. So it's actually pretty cool if you want to play around with that. I'm not gonna lie to you, you can get sucked into a conversation really easy. It's happened to me a lot. So be careful. Maybe set a timer, and then so you pick your head up every once in a while, because it's a pretty engaging chat bot. So all right, I'm going to close out Magic School here. So I'm going to scroll down now. Once again, you can access by the way, I don't know if people saw the vibes bombardment palette they're doing, but definitely check that out and throw some positive vibes on there at any point during the session or afterwards. I want to talk about the Formative next. Formative is a platform that some of you may be familiar with already. It's been around for quite a long time. I think actually fairly in the past couple of years, I believe it was purchased by News ELA. But I want to talk about Formative AI. So they have added a variety of AI features that, if you're a formative user, can really, really benefit you and make creating formatives and providing hints and feedback and answer explanations a lot faster. And if you're not a formative user, it might convince you to start using formative, even though I think there's a lot of really good reasons to do that. So really what it helps with is question generation, creating lesson. Actually, you can generate entire formatives or entire activities, but or assessments, but question generation, lessons, assignments, like I said, hints, and student feedback as well. I want to point out something really, really important though, and I always mention this to any educators that are using formative and want to do this stuff. You have to opt in to accessing these features. So I want to show people that really, really quick here. I do have a link for this, as you can see in my hyperdoc. So this isn't just automatically going to appear. So if you're a formative user, you're like, what the heck? Like, formative has AI and I don't know about it, and like, what's going on with that? You actually have to go into your settings and you have to basically, in essence, turn on or flip a switch in order for these features to be made available to you. Because technically they're still in beta, meaning that formative is still kind of testing out and gathering information and all that kind of good stuff. So it's not like maybe the final form that they'll be in. So I'm going to show you real quick with this link how to do that if this is something that you're interested in. So I'm going to scroll down here. So if you go into your settings, and you can see that here in the screenshot, I'll scroll down here. Oh, sorry. So you're in your settings under your account. The first thing is you need to toggle to opt into the beta. So you can see here under beta, it says teacher pace, student groups, and it says AI content generation. If you don't flick that little switch, you're not going to have any access. You're not going to have access to these features. So you definitely want to flick the switch. Also, if you look a little further down, you can see that there is also right here some other options for opting into. You don't need to opt into any of these things for the AI stuff unless it's not going to influence your ability to access the generative AI features. But just so you know, they are kind of piloting and beta testing some other features too that you may or may not be interested in. So definitely check that out. But make sure you flick that switch or you will get very frustrated that you don't have access to all these cool features. And that's for sure. So let me hop into my formative tab here real quick. All right. I will say I spent way too much time deciding on the colors for my tabs in Chrome. I don't know if anyone has that problem, but I was like, what color best describes formative? And I was going to do green because of the green check mark, but then I have this platform called Diffit that's all green, so I went with red. There's some red in the logo a little bit, so I think we're safe with that. All right, and apologies for the delay here. I'm getting some significant lag here on my end, but. Maybe, well, I don't know. I mean, I thought it was going to be good. I know it was going to be quieter here at school because my kids aren't running around, but I also thought my internet speeds would be faster, but it looks like that's may or not be the case here. All right, let me refresh this. So what I want to start with is talking about how you can generate an entire new activity, assessment, or lesson using the generative AI feature. And then I want to get into more, okay, well, maybe you're already a formative user and you want to maybe generate new questions on an assignment or an activity that you already have, or maybe you want to provide AI generated hints or AI generated answer explanations. So we'll kind of dive into that afterwards, but we'll kind of start from scratch first and then go from there. So, there's that. We got lots of spinny, colorful pinwheels here. There we go. So to start, if you want to just create a lesson or an assessment, formative or summative in formative, using the generative AI feature, you can do that from scratch. So once again, just to quickly go back, if you want to access the settings, you would go to my account there on the left, on the sidebar menu on the left. So if you want to just generate one from scratch, you just go up to the add button. And then you can notice now, if you opt into the AI features, you'll have a new option, which is auto generate formative. And by the way, I don't know if people have noticed this with AI and education. Um, Everything's magical. So you'll notice if there's an AI feature, it tends to have like a magic wand or some like magical like AI pixie dust, little stars around it. Yeah, if you see a little magic wand and a little pixie dust, chances are it probably is referencing AI and some AI features. So you'll notice you can do a quiz or a lesson. It's really whatever you want to do here. So I'll do a quiz. And so a topic, let's see. Oh, my students are learning about philosophies that developed in ancient China. So let's see, ancient Chinese philosophies. Now, I'm seventh grade, so there's also additional settings that you want to take a look at. You can choose a difficulty level. So easy, medium, or hard. By the way, you can change that later. So if you're like, I don't know, maybe I don't want to make it too hard. I tend to just leave it as medium and then kind of see if I want to level up or level down. You can also choose length. So if this is a quiz and I want to make it short, medium, or long, I'm going to go medium again, but you can always go shorter or longer if you want. I'm going to actually like not generate hints for questions right now. I'm going to show you how to do that after the fact, but you could auto generate hints. So if you're not familiar with the hint feature in formative, it allows you to, it basically allows students to request a hint to help them with the question or the task. You can obviously create the hints yourself, but AI will generate them for you either based on questions that AI generated already or based on questions you already had or tasks you already had. So I'm gonna leave that alone for now, but we'll get to that for sure. So once again, this is us generating a formative quiz from scratch. So all I did was I gave it grade level, right? I gave it the topic. You could give it a topic, a learning standard, an objective, you name it. I did tell it the length, right? Well, I told it the difficulty level, and I did tell it the length. We did kind of medium for both, and then we didn't turn on hints, but that's okay. Okay, so it should be good to go here. Apologies for my spinny pinwheel here on my Mac. So I want to point something out. This was super confusing for me at first. So when you generate one from scratch, like we just did, it's going to put it into your kind of your dashboard. Whether you have folders, like I have all these kinds of folders and stuff. It's not going to put it in the folder I was just in. It's going to put it with like, kind of think of it as like, if it's Google Drive, right? It's like my drive, right? Where all your folders and all the loose formatives are that you haven't organized yet. So you'll notice it says AI generated ancient Chinese, and then the title dips off there. So it will tell you it's AI generated. It'll label it as such. So just in case you maybe have some formatives that are similarly titled. So I'm just going to click it to open it, get there relatively quick. And at this point now, I'm going to do what I suggested before in my AI approach is, okay, I'm the expert. I have experience here and content knowledge. Let's see how it did, right? Do I want to keep things or do I want to add things as well? And you can change everything. You don't have to keep anything if you don't want to. So it automatically generated some multiple choice questions for me. You can see that here. True, false, short answer questions, right? Multiple selection as well. So, and on it goes. Remember, this is medium length. So what did it end up doing? 10 questions. So, okay, short would probably closer to 5, and long could be an upwards of 15 or 20. I could obviously use it as is. I will tell you, you definitely want to not only check the questions, but you want to check the answer choices and make sure that the correct answer was actually selected. If you're at all familiar with generative AI, it can hallucinate, is what the AI developers call it. So it can make mistakes, and some of those times those mistakes are kind of unexplainable as to why it does that. So you definitely want to check that out. You can change the answers. You could change the number of answers. You can change the point value. That's all up to you. I can add an answer choice myself, or I could actually have answer choices be generated by AI too. But this is where I want to talk a little bit about some other things you can do with the AI feature. So let's say I want to add some answer choice explanation. So I flick that little switch on, right? And now you'll notice, look at that little magic wand. There it is. It's magical. I can actually generate answer choices with the generative AI. So, answer explanations. So these would be explanations that would be visible to students after they submit the formative when they get their feedback. So it automatically generated those answer choices very, very quickly. So this would be something a student would see regardless of whether or not they selected the right answer. They would get feedback either way. Now you could add your own. You could certainly edit these and modify them to your heart's content. But once again, why not save time and at least use this as a starting point? I also want to point out. Let's see here. We'll go to add a hint, right? So this is a great way to differentiate for your students and provide them with additional support, some scaffolded support. So I can tap add a hint here, and I can also have it auto generate some hints for me based on obviously what the question is and what the right answer is. So I can once again tap that magical wand, and it's going to automatically generate some hints. Now, one of the things that Formative does that I really like about their AI feature is a lot of times with, for example, generating hints or questions, and we'll get into that in a minute, it'll give you a bunch of options, and you can pick the ones you want or not. So let's say I want to choose this one. I know my students know that the philosophy is centered around the ideas of morality, family obligation, especially respect for elders. So I know that's going to be a good hint for them. So I'm going to hit check and confirm. And now that hint has been added. And by the way, you can add more hints. You can add as many as you want. But so once again, the generative AI can not only create an entire quiz, it can also generate answer explanations. It can generate hints. It can also help me generate more questions. So if I hit this little plus button here, notice if you're familiar with Formative, there's a new little option down here under auto-generated content. It says generate item. So now I can just generate a new item. I can generate more questions, right? And I can choose the type of question I want to generate. So I can choose a categorization, matching, multiple selection, numeric, short answer, true, false. I can also generate, I can also choose the difficulty level, and I can choose the language as well. So I forget how many languages they have here. Oh, they only have 3. Some platforms actually have over 60 for generative AI. I want to point out something else too. You can also generate a text passage as well. So a lot of platforms, including Magic School, will help you generate informational text from a prompt. So if you wanted to add a text passage to it, you wanted them to read and then maybe answer some questions or summarize, you could do that. So let's say I don't know, like a matching activity, and the prompt I want to add is a matching activity about maybe I want to compare. So create a matching activity that asks students to match principles from Confucianism. My students learned about 3, so we'll do Confucianism, Taoism, and legalism with the correct philosophy. Because that would be something I want them to do if we actually do 3 simulations where they experience the philosophies in class. So I'd want them to be able to match like the guideline or principle with obviously the correct philosophy. So I'm going to generate that. So once again, I'm now adding a new item to the activity, or actually in this case, it's an assessment that Formative already generated for me. So pretty quick. Notice it gave me 2 options, actually gave me 4 options, excuse me. I can choose to add them all because right now all the check marks are clicked, or I can just unclick them. So maybe I just want to, use one of them. You'll notice too, if I want, I can add another pair choice, or I can also make it easier or harder, or I can create a new one that's similar. So maybe I'm like, that's a little too easy. So I want to make it harder. It's going to now generate a harder version of that same, there we go. That same matching activity. And if I want to add it, I just tap add, and it just automatically pops it in to my formative that I already created right where I put the plus button there. So it's just ready to go. So like I said, huge time saver. Yes. Could you create this on your own? Absolutely. You have the expertise to do that. But why not use it, like I said, as a rough draft, as a starting point to save you a lot of time in generating some high quality items for an assessment like this. So really, really awesome. It'll even take a PDF file. And if you upload a PDF file, they call it PDF parsing. It'll analyze what's on that PDF file and it will auto generate questions for it too. So that's a newer feature of their AI tools. But man, oh man, I'm a huge formative user. A lot of people in my district are. And as soon as they added these AI features, it just saves you so much time when you're creating lessons, when you're creating activities, you're creating formative or summative assessments. It's awesome. And remember, if you're not familiar with formative too, formative is collaborative, just like Google Docs and Google Slides or Sheets. You can actually collaborate with colleagues on formatives. You can share them with each other. So you can, if you work collaboratively, man, oh man, you can save even more time if you leverage the AI features. So I would definitely encourage you, whether you're a formative user or not, to check out these features. Make sure you switch that, click that little switch to turn on the AI beta features. But man, it's a huge, huge time saver. One of my favorite platforms, but definitely one of my favorite kind of implementations of AI with instructional technology. It's really, really great. All right, so we're going to move on to Brisk. So the reason why I feature Brisk is because a lot of us, right? A lot of us use Google Docs and a lot of us use Google Slides every day, right? And granted, Magic School, for example, can export content created in Magic School to Docs, right? To your drive, right? And you can always copy and paste stuff too. But one of the things I like about Brisk is that Brisk is a Chrome extension that lives, as many Chrome extensions do, just floating right here. You can see it right down here, the bottom right, it's right down there. And it's a little, it actually changed their logo. It's a B with a little blue ring around it. So once you turn the Chrome extension on after you download it. And what's nice about it is that it just sits there until I need it, right? And so it's a Chrome extension. It integrates directly into Classroom and more recently into Slides. They just did an update where now you can actually use it in Slides, which is awesome. And it saves you a ton of time by helping you provide feedback and helping you create learning activities and resources. So if you are a big time user of Google Docs, if you have students submitting work to you in Docs, if you create a lot of Google Slides presentations, if you have students submitting work to you, assignments to you in Slides, this is an extension you're going to want to play around with for sure. So I just have an empty Google Doc open here, and I'll just kind of walk you through. If I want to use Brisk, it's actually very simple. I just tap the little Brisk icon down here and wake it up. It's kind of like it's sleeping down there. And it's going to give me some options. And I just want to kind of walk you through the options real quick. So first of all, if you're using it for the first time, you will have to create a Brisk account. But that would be something you do after you add the extension to your Chrome web browser. So if I want to create something, just straight up create something, like we were just creating something in formative, I can hit the create button. And what you're going to see is something actually very familiar. We'll get to that. Not familiar yet, but you're going to see a bunch of options. So there's curriculum essentials. So you create quizzes, resources, exemplars, lesson plans. Something else is just anything you want, basically. DOK questions, decodable text, a presentation. I don't pay for the Brisk Premium yet. I'm still kind of playing around with it, but eventually, if you unlock it, you can do rubrics, syllabi. You get the idea here. There's also stuff for administrative tasks. But the new feature there is presentation. We'll get to that in a moment. So let's just say you want to create a resource, right? You'll notice something familiar here. This is what I was talking about before. It's a text field where you're going to type in a prompt, right? That's how generative AI works. So whether you're super familiar with it or not, whether you're playing around with ChatGPT or whether we're using Magic Schools or this, you're going to be asked to type in a prompt. Tell it what you want it to do, right? Now notice it has an option for lots of languages. I believe it is, I thought there was a little bit more than this. So I think there's around 20. So this can be done in any of those 20 target languages. And I can tell it to do whatever I want. And I can obviously choose grade level as well. So let's see, I want to create a resource. We'll stick with the philosophy thing. So create informational text about how the Han Dynasty used Confucianism. Sure. So this is, I want to actually have it create some informational text that my students would use as maybe like helping them build some background knowledge about how the government of the Han used the philosophy of Confucianism. I can select standards. I can give it standards. I can give it the actual learning objective if I want. And then obviously I can choose my grade level. And then you tap brisket. Once again, magical little AI pixie dust there on the button. And remember, AI seems magical, and man, it doesn't ever. But it's not, right? It's going to do what you tell it to do, and the better the input, the better the output. And I would argue my input wasn't great. If I had more time, I'd be much more specific, and I would also give it my learning standards, objectives, all that. Now, notice it created a brand new Google Doc, right? Brand new Google Doc, and now it's just going. And I can stop generating any moment if I want, but it's just going, going, going. So it's going to keep generating this informational text for me. And then obviously when I'm done, as the content expert, I'm going to review it and decide, hey, what do I want to keep? What don't I want to keep? Here it keeps going. And I just go, you know what? I really like this government and administration section, but I'm not going to use the education and scholarship section or the introduction. I can do that, right? I could directly share this Google Doc with my students, or like I said, you can take what you want out of here. So pretty awesome. And man, it's really putting in some time here. Think about this, right? You know, I don't know about all of you, but we no longer use, we do use textbooks as one of many resources, but we are no longer purchasing textbooks. So yeah, you can certainly go online and try to find an online source that has grade level appropriate and informational text about that, or you can actually ask the AI to generate it for you. And also you can translate it, you can make it shorter, you can make it longer, so you can really differentiate it and personalize it for your students. You can ask for more detail, less detail. I can now create a quiz based on it. I can create a vocab list based on it. So you know what, I want to give my kids a vocab list with this as well. So it's going to create a vocab list for me, and I'm going to add it either in the doc, or I can even have it make it in a Google form, but I'm actually going to do it in the current doc. So it's just going to add a vocab list in the bottom, or it'll generate a quiz for me at the bottom as well. Like I said, it does a lot of the same things that Magic Schools does and some other platforms, but the benefit here, and this is what I always say when I talk about Brisk, is if you are a Google Docs user, if you are a Google Slides user, if you have students submitting work, assignments via Google Classroom, using Google Docs, using Google Slides, you definitely want to get Brisk, because it's going to make your life a lot easier. Notice what it's doing here. It's giving me, we got a quiz going on here. This is great as well. So if you are using Google Docs, Google Slides, it is really something that you're going to want to use. As for the feedback thing, like I said, you could open up a student's document and you can select the text and actually have it provide feedback for it. You know, whether or not you want to use that all the feedback it provides or not, that's certainly up to you. I'll actually exit out of here real quick and just show you that. Taking a moment. So give feedback, right? That would be the option here. The inspect writing option, by the way, is they have their own AI detection tool. They admit themselves that it's not perfect. So, you know, no AI detection tool is 100% reliable. So just use it with that knowledge, and they acknowledge that themselves. So if you want to give feedback, you can actually give feedback based on rubric criteria that you would upload. You can do next step feedback, so some actionable feedback that would give them to improve whatever it is that they submitted. Glow and grow, which I love. These are some glowing areas. These are ways you can grow. And there's some, this is new, this targeted feedback would actually go into the comments based on rubrics and standards. So once again, if you are a Google Docs user and Slides, because it works in Slides now, you definitely want to check out Brisk for sure. I think we're trying to see if there's one more thing here before I move on. I'm very aware of the time here. I think that's probably it. My Brisk button's not working. Yeah, well, I know I talked about the AI detection. So yeah, like I said, use it, don't use it. You know, no AI detection tool is perfect. So you could try it out and vet it and see. test it out with some AI generated content, you could certainly do that on your own or with some colleagues too. So awesome tool. Speaking of that, we're going to move on to Diffit. I actually added this one kind of last minute. Not that I've been recommending Diffit for a while, but I just gave a PD. I had a technology playground about a month ago, and the staff of my school absolutely fell in love with exploring Diffit. Diffit's been around for a little while. I discovered it last spring. Think of it this way. Diffit is an awesome way for you to create, I don't want to say any kind of resource, but a wide variety of resources for your student, especially differentiated resources. So, and obviously on top of all that, it's going to save you a ton of time doing it. You can create it from scratch. You can create it from YouTube videos, from websites, from PDF files. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And what's really impressive about Diffit, and I'll show you in a moment, is you can then take whatever you create and then go next level, and it'll auto create for you activities within docs, within slides that you could then use, which is really, really awesome. So you'll notice here, the kind of launch pad here, or the home screen, or the dashboard, whatever you want to call it, is very simple. So you can literally ask for anything. So you'll notice a very familiar text field there where you would type in your prompt. Or you could put in a URL of an article, a website online, or a YouTube video URL as well. Or you can copy and paste any text at all, or you can upload a PDF file. So totally up to you what you want to obviously input into Diffit. Obviously, Diffit, differentiate, you kind of get the idea there. It's like Kahoot it, right? All you Kahoot fans out there. So once again, you choose a topic. So I actually have a few that are auto-filling here. We'll do, well, we've been talking a lot about cultural diffusion in my class lately, so we'll keep it there. That's very, very general. I could be much more specific. I could give a specific learning standard. I could give a specific learning objective or a question. I can choose the reading level. It goes down to 2 and it goes up to 11 plus. So we'll do, let's say I want to create a resource. I actually know I have a student currently who reads at one of my students is reading at a second grade level. So I'll keep that, and I'm going to keep it in English, although it'll do, I believe, this one does, I think, over 60 different languages. So I'll keep it in English, and I'll generate resources. So once again, I could have done that with a YouTube link. I could have done it with a website link. Any of those things would work just fine. But I just happen to type in the topic, and that's cool too. Man, I'm as much as I use AI, and you might be, this is taking a while. What it generates is just so unbelievable. It's so fast, and like I said, it saves me so much time. I don't know how. I know I was doing my job before, just spending a lot more time, right? And the results were good, but man, if I can use these to save some time, I can put some time into other things that could also support my students. So man, it's awesome. Also, I got 3 kids, one of which is just going to turn 1. So I need to save time all I can right now. So we got her birthday next week, but she's perfect. She's a perfect little angel. She does nothing wrong. So once it generates the resource, by the way, that's when I'll show you what you can then do with the resource that it generates. Obviously, there are ways you can edit and modify it, and then we'll kind of take things to the next level, and how the different ways you can export it or share it. I mean, geez, the things that you can generate, like in your list, generate like short answer question topics. It's wild. Oh, okay, that's not a good sign. My internet connection is unstable. I was saying that before, to be fair to myself. Unfortunately, it doesn't really help us out here, though. Oh, spinny pinwheel. I think the lesson here is that I should have went home, had my children on the Zoom call with us. It would add some comic relief, and I would have had a better internet connection, unfortunately, than I'm experiencing here in my school. So, yeah. I might have to come back to this because it is not doing its thing here. That's not a good sign. Yeah, apologies. Maybe I can go into resources that I already have developed here, and then that way you can at least see the end result. So apologies that we weren't going to get the cultural diffusion one, but you get the idea here in a moment. And by the way, just like a lot of the other platforms, like Magic, I'll just use Magic School as an example. It has a history of what you've done. So the resources that you've generated and created in the past will be there, and you'll notice too once this loads that there is a search feature as well. You can obviously go through search for those resources too. This looks like everything's been redacted, but that's not true. While we're waiting too, because I am very cognizant of the time, I am going to get to quizzes. I might run a little bit over 6:15. Totally understand if you're unable to hang around for me to go over quizzes. But if you're willing to stay a little longer, I'd be happy to stay as well. Apologies for these delays that I'm experiencing here due to my connection issues. Oh, there we go. So I actually just did this because of the same student that reads at the second grade level. So we were learning about the Mauryan Empire. It's an empire from ancient Indian history. And I did generate a resource in that. And by the way, if you're unable to continue with us, totally understand. At 6:15, if you need to bounce, I get that. Thank you so much for spending this hour with me. And remember, if you are curious about using quizzes and the AI features, there is a list of curated resources on that HyperDoc that you can explore on your own. So apologies for most likely running a little bit over. So once again, it's going to generate. It's going to find an image for us and also shows us where that image comes from. It's generating an adapted reading passage for me, which is awesome. By the way, it also shows the sources that it got the information from. And man, oh man, as a history teacher, that just warms my heart. It's awesome. So it will show, this is worldhistory.org, which is a great resource. It will show where it gets the resources from. It gives a summary automatically. And remember, this is at a second grade level, so it has a bulleted summary. It gives a keyword list automatically. Multiple choice questions that I could use on formative or summative assessments or even a learning activity. Some short answer questions, open-ended prompts that I could use even as discussion topics if I wanted to with the group. Notice the little magical AI pixie dust is there on these buttons. You could ask it to generate more too. This is just this initial kind of run through. Remember, using these generative AI products, it's an iterative process. So if I give it more instructions or if I ask for more, it's going to give me more. Now, this is the best part though. If this wasn't good enough, this is pretty awesome, right? You can now get student activities that are generated from it. So activities that you can print or that you could use digitally. Like I said, it'll do docs or slides too. So if I tap student activities, check this out. This is just awesome. It's going to generate activities that can be saved as PDFs, as docs, or even as Google Forms or Google Slides. So I could do a 3-2-1 reading summary workbook, Frayer model vocab slides, interactive slides that's docs. This one is a social media style summary. So if you want to make things a little bit more relevant for the kids, you could do that. The list goes on and on and on. It's still generating more. See a little spinny pinwheel there. I can search for a specific type of activity if I want, like vocab, or I can search by grade level or by subject or by format as well. That's the best thing here too. A lot of the AI products will generate something that can be used digitally, but not something that would print out very well. I mean, you can print out a formative, but if you use formative, let's face facts, like printing out a formative is not the ideal way to use formative. But if you want to have AI help you create these activities, but you don't want the kids to be using technology to complete them because it doesn't enhance the learning. If you're going no tech here, great, you could just print them out, right? There's no reason to use a low tech or high tech solution here. Or you can give kids options. Love to give kids options, give them some agency. So hey, you know what? You can do this on Google Docs or slides, or you can complete it on the paper version. Give them the choice, right? But this is a huge differentiator, at least for me, between Diffit and some of the other platforms. The fact that it will auto generate these activities in docs, in slides, in Google Forms is huge. Talk about a time saver. You could take AI generated content and copy and paste it into docs and slides, but this is doing it automatically, and that just saves you a ton of time. So like I said, Diffit is awesome. Like I said, I was actually showing this to, I was talking to a group of special education teachers in my building. They're like, oh my God, this is going to be a huge time saver when we're trying to take, like, say, let's say we do a lot of primary source analysis in my classroom. And so take those primary sources and then obviously lower the reading level or possibly translate them, develop vocab lists for the kids, develop summaries for the kids, questions. I mean, they could do all that, but man, it would take them a long time. And now it takes, maybe 30 seconds, maybe a minute. And that's a huge plus because then they're already strapped for time as it is supporting these kids. But as we all are, but man, that saves them a lot of time. So definitely check it out. And like I said, last but not least, apologies. It is 6:15, so I totally understand if you need to bounce. As I say to my own kids, you can bounce out of here. Thank you for your time. You can certainly check out the curated resources about quizzes on that hyperdoc. If you're willing to stay, I'm willing to spend no more than 10 minutes on quizzes, and then I'll get you out of here. So quizzes is another tool that you probably heard of and or probably use. If not, it's a wonderful platform that allows you to generate interactive learning activities, formative or summative digital quizzes, or even whole interactive lessons now. And now they have Quizzes AI. And I have used quizzes for a long time now. I don't have any problem at all creating my own quizzes. But like I've been saying, why not leverage AI to help you at least get a rough draft, right? And as you can see here on my screen, now with Quizzes AI, you have some new options. And notice there's that magical AI pixie dust, right? Right there in all the buttons. So you can upload a worksheet, a slides presentation, study materials, and it'll create quizzes directly from that automatically. So that's one thing I always try to do is give kids as many options to like review what we've done in the past. But man, creating all those different options for review can be time consuming. This will do it for you, right? Just based on the review materials and instructional materials. This is a great one too. I love using this one. Create it with a YouTube video. So you can just copy a URL of a YouTube video, pop it in there, and it'll automatically create a quizzes activity for that YouTube video. And also, so many of us already have a ton of resources in our drives, right? Our Google Drive. So if you want to use a Google Doc or Google Slides and upload that, it'll create a quizzes activity based on that as well. And there's more. There's always more. You can, this is my favorite because I'll talk about this in a moment, the Quizzes AI extension that you can add to Chrome. But you can just upload a link for any website and it'll automatically create an activity for that too. Or like so many other platforms we discussed and explored today, you can also just type in a prompt straight up. So you could just type in a prompt, tell it what you want it to, what you want the activity to be about, give it standards, give it the grade level, all the information it needs, and it will generate an activity from that too. Now, I did just mention something, and that is, and I do have a link in the hyperdoc for it, is the Quizzes AI extension. Yeah, you should definitely add the Brisk extension. You should definitely add the Quizzes AI extension if you're a Quizzes user, because what it does automatically is if I'm on a website, I just tap that button, which is right here, right next to my Pear Deck extension, and it'll automatically start to generate a quizzes activity based on the content of that website, which is huge, super fast. Also, by the way, you can generate content within ones that you already have, quizzes you already have too. So you don't have to start from scratch or start over. You can go into your own quizzes library, and I'll just show you that real quick. And you can open up a quizzes activity you already have, and you can use the AI quizzes features to actually generate additional content within that quiz, which is pretty cool as well. So if you want to, let's say you made some changes to the curriculum and you want to obviously, hey, you're willing to spend the time to change that quiz activity, but why not use AI to speed that process up a little bit, right? I would definitely argue that for sure, no doubt. Apologies again for the lag here. I wish that was not the case, but I'll get into one of my drafts in a moment. But yeah, that Quizzes AI extension is super convenient. I would highly recommend that you use it if you are a Quizzes user and you want to take advantage of the AI features. Okay. Um, oh, there we go. Sorry about that. We're back in action here. So, well, actually, I was just doing one about click restraint. And thank you for the comment in the chat there. Click restraint, talking about obviously getting kids to evaluate search results when Googling before they start tapping on them, right? So if I want to actually edit that and add maybe some additional questions, I could do that. And by the way, I generated this based off of a YouTube video from the Stanford, from a SHEG, Stanford History Education Group, about online civic reasoning. So it's, yeah, there we go. So you'll notice that I already have a quiz here ready to go. It was generated actually from a YouTube video, but I can actually AI enhance it right now. So I can actually tap this and I can, as it stated, it's right there, fix errors, translate it, add a narrative. I can manage topics. So I can add similar questions. I can translate it to another language. I can simplify the question. So once again, talking about like that differentiation and all that. Make it fun. That's always a funny one. Like, it's interesting to see what AI thinks is fun for students. I mean, you could certainly give that a whirl if you want. But yeah. So, oh, convert to other question types is good too, because there are multiple types of questions that a quizzes activity can have as well. So, like I said, whether you want to start from scratch, you can do that. Whether you want to start from a YouTube video, a website, whether you want to upload an existing Google Doc, existing Google Slides presentation, you can do that, or you can take an existing quizzes activity as I have here, and you can also enhance it, as they say, too. So, all right. So, like I said, for those that sticked around, appreciate it. Sorry for going over by about 6 minutes. If you want to use any of these platforms, any of these tools, that HyperDoc that I shared out in the chat, and I'll actually share it out again, is where you're going to want to go to learn how to use them and to learn different integration ideas. Definitely feel free to reach out to me via email or via X. I said Twitter again. If you have any questions, or if you just want to connect or share some awesome things you've been doing with AI. If you're going to attend any other sessions, I hope that they are awesome. I can't wait to attend some tomorrow. Thank you so much for spending your time today, and have a wonderful rest of your day/evening, depending on where you're zooming in from. So, and if you do have any questions you want to hang around, feel free. I'll hang around for a little bit longer if you want to chit chat. But thank you again. Appreciate it.